welcome to this video. Today I'm going to give you a tour of my new short video content planner. This is a Google Sheets template. I already have other social media templates available, but I created this one specifically for when you are creating short video content and you are reposting it on several platforms. So let's get into it. When you first open your template, you're going to see 4 tabs down here. The Customize Here tab is the place where you are going to be able to customize your drop-downs and different features that are available. The most important part is this table right here, in which you are going to add the name of the platforms that you usually post your short video content on. So this is where you add the name of your platforms, and then everything else is just to personalize other features that are available, but I will talk about those later. Then you will find the hashtag manager tab, and I already have hashtag managers on other products, but this one works a bit differently, so make sure to pay special attention to this if you've already used other products that I've created. So in this tab, you're going to be able to create different groups of hashtags. So you're going to give each group a name, and then you're going to add up to 15 hashtags on that group. And there's 160 tables that look like this one, and you find them by scrolling to the right and scrolling down. And whenever you start creating those groups, this index is going to be created automatically. So the point of these groups of hashtags is that whenever you are adding captions for each of your platforms, you're also going to be able to select 1 or 2 groups of hashtags and join those hashtags together with your captions. So you're going to be able to input your caption, then select a group of hashtags, select a second group of hashtags, and all of those will be joined together for you to be able to copy and paste. I will come back here later, but I just wanted to mention that so you could keep it in mind. Now let's move on to the main functionality, which is the actual planning. But before we do that, you might be wondering, is this a monthly template? Is this an annual template? And it can be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to show you how you accomplish that. When you first open your blank template, you're going to see these 2 tabs that have these 2 little locks on them. This means you should never edit these 2 tabs. They are meant for copies only. And what I mean by that is you're going to go into this tab, this first calendar tab, you're going to right click and you're going to click on the option duplicate. And then you're going to do the exact same thing for the info tab. You're going to right click and select the option duplicate. So as you may notice, 2 new tabs appeared and they don't have locks, and they are called copy of and then calendar and then copy of info. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this around so they're both together, and I'm going to rename them. So for this example, I am going to pretend I am planning my content for the month of June. So I'm going to name this June calendar, and then I'm going to name my second tab, the one that has the word info in it. I'm going to name it June info. So let's start with the June calendar tab, and let's ignore the June info tab for now. So in this table, you're going to input all of your basic information. So you can start by brain dumping all of your ideas in this column, and then you can add different options here. These 3 drop-downs are fully customizable. You can customize both the title and the elements, and you're going to do that in the Customize Here tab. It's really simple. You just choose a title and then assign elements to it. Choose a title and then assign elements to it. So you do that with these 3 tables, and whatever you input here is going to appear on the top, and the elements are going to appear on the drop-downs. So I'm going to add some text in here. And then for a product, I'm just going to show you a little example. I already filled some elements, but I'm going to add a new one for you, my new element. So I'm just going to come in here and select that from the drop down, and you can do the same thing for each of these 3 columns. So I'm going to add more very quickly. And once I did that, you're going to notice that nothing else happens. The calendar is still empty. Everything else is still empty. So if you scroll to the right, you're going to find this calendar that will be empty at the beginning. So to set it up, you're going to go into this cell right here. You're going to double click and you're going to select the first date of your calendar. So in my case, I'm going to select June 1st. I created it this way so you would have complete flexibility over when the calendar that you are viewing begin. Some people like them to begin on Sundays, other on Mondays, other people on the very first day of the month. So all you need to do is select a different date, and then that becomes the first date, and everything else in the calendar is updated. So let's go back to June 1st, which falls on a Thursday. And then I'm going to show you what happens whenever you add a date to your ideas. So if you double click on any of these date cells, a calendar will appear that will allow you to select a date. So I'm going to select June 1st. And as soon as I do that, you're going to see that my first row appeared on its corresponding day in the calendar. And if I assign all of them to June 1st, they're all going to appear in the calendar. Completely optional, you can also assign times to this. And then some notes over here. So this calendar tab is where you're going to keep all of the basic information, which is you're going to brain dump your ideas. You can assign some of these custom elements to them. You can assign a date to them. And then once you're ready to add captions, hashtags, notes, images, checklists, then we're going to move on to this second tab. So right now, this second tab looks like this. It's completely empty over here. This is empty. This has a yellow highlight, and then everything else is empty. So right now, this tab and this tab are completely independent from each other. They are not talking to each other. So we're gonna get them to connect by following this step. You're gonna go into this cell right here, the one that's right next to the yellow highlight, and you're going to type the name of this tab. So I'm gonna go ahead and input June calendar. And once I did that, immediately these tables filled out automatically. And what these tables are pulling is all of the information that I entered in these rows. So row 1 is my first video idea. My new element saves element 3. So if I go into the June info tab, I'm gonna see that exact information in this table over here. And then the same thing happens with this second table, this third table. Everything gets pulled automatically as soon as I connect my tabs. And the way I connect them is by entering the name of my calendar tab in this cell. Now, if I were to assign a title here, my awesome content plan, you will immediately see that that changes over here as well. And the number one rule of this specific tab is that you will only edit cells that have a white background. So white backgrounds, you can input stuff in there. Colored background, like these tables, completely automated. The hashtag part is automated. So if I were to delete this, that would disconnect my tabs and everything disappeared. If I bring that name back, then they're connected again. So hopefully this made sense for you. So this is the most important step whenever you're connecting these two tabs. So make sure you never forget to do that, and the yellow highlight will hopefully remind you. So let's move on to seeing what type of information you can add for each of your ideas. So this is my first idea, and the very first thing you see is you have these checklists. It's just very simple. You can check these boxes and watch your progress bar move. You can add links, for example, to the product you're talking about. Whatever you need to keep handy for this specific video, you can add that there. You can input your script, and this is completely optional. You don't have to use it. And then if you continue scrolling to the right, you're gonna find 7 tables that look like this one, and each row, each idea has its own 7 tables, and each of these tables correspond to one of the platforms that you added here in the beginning. So you just input your platform name over here. Let's do an example, and then immediately after you're gonna see that that gets added into one of your 7 tables. And every single table works the same way. So you have this space right here in which you can input your caption. So I just added some random text for my caption, and then this is how this will connect with the hashtag groups that you created previously. So you're gonna be able to select a first group, and then you're gonna be able to select a second group, and then the caption, the hashtags from the first group and the hashtags from the second group will all get joined together down here. So once you have your caption and your hashtags, you're going to be able to come into this cell down here, select it, copy its content, and then paste it somewhere else. And the reason why this cell is really tiny and it gets cut off is because it's not meant for you to be able to read it. It's meant for you to just copy and paste from it. And as you can see, these numbers up here, they change as soon as I add more text. So it's just counting the number of characters in case that is useful to you. I just love adding stuff. And every single table works exactly the same way. And then there's also these two areas in which you can, if you want to remember which audio you're gonna use, then you can add that here. And then you can also add a title here. The number of characters for that will also be counted over here. And then finally, you also have this drop down, and you can also customize those elements. You customize them over here in this section. Just some reminders that you already added this as a draft, or this has been scheduled, or it was posted, or someone's responsible for this. Whatever you want, it's a completely optional and fully customizable drop down. So I created this individually in case your captions and your hashtags are changing between platforms. You have all of this space available. Maybe you can create hashtag groups that are specific to each platform. So I added a lot of stuff to make it as flexible as possible. You can also just use one table and reuse everything on every single platform. It's entirely up to you, but the option to tailor your information to each platform is available, and each table has its caption plus hashtag section. So you add your caption, you add hashtags, and then they get joined together down here for you to copy and paste. If you keep scrolling all the way to the right, you're gonna find this extra table. It's completely optional. The only thing this does is you select the platform, your caption gets pulled into this big area right here, and then you can copy and paste your caption joined together with your hashtags from this cell. This one is just for a visual reference. This one is where you copy and paste. So this is just another option that's available. You can just copy from here instead of from here. Completely optional. And then I added an extra space in which you can add whatever you want. It can be text, you can add images, you can add links. So the titles for these 7 tables are fully customizable, and you customize them over here. So when you add things that make a bit more sense, it can look something like this. You can add images, you can add text. Everything is optional. This is just whatever you find useful you can use, and whatever you don't find useful you can ignore. And then these are numbered, and they are matching each row over here. So 1, 2, 3. I only added 3 ideas, and you will find those here. 1, 2, 3. And then the 4th one is empty because I haven't added anything here. And then I also added these checkboxes over here. So once you are done posting this idea to each of your platforms, you can just select these checkboxes to mark them as posted. We're done with this. We're good. Now let's talk about different scenarios depending on how often you post. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this can be a monthly template, a yearly template, a weekly template. It can be anything you want. And the way that's possible is you will only have these 2 blank tabs that you can duplicate as many times as you want. And then you just connect them to each other to make sure that whatever you input here gets pulled into here, and you just do that by adding the calendar tab name over here. So this tab has room for 31 posts. After 31 posts, you need to create a new set of tabs, a new pair of tabs. This also has room for 31 posts, which is matching the number of rows here. And the reason for this is if I made it too big, the scrolling down here would be insane. So I limited it to 31 posts. And after 31 posts, you're just gonna create new duplicates from these blank tabs, and you're gonna connect them to each other. So if you were posting once per day, 1 pair of tabs will last you a month. If you're posting every other day, 1 pair of tabs could last you maybe 2 months. If you're posting more than once a day, multiple times a day, then you will run out of rows before the month ends. That means that maybe your structure could be you use a set of tabs every 2 weeks, for example. Now, if you're a content machine, you're posting lots of times per day, maybe you will prefer to have multiple files instead of multiple tabs. So you could have 1 file per month. You create 1 set of tabs for each week, and then whenever you're ready to start working on a new month, you can go ahead and create a new copy of the file. By clicking on File, then Make a Copy. So you create your copy, and then you can remove whatever you're not using and start over by duplicating these tabs. So once you understand the logic behind duplicating these tabs and connecting them to each other, you can use this however makes more sense to you. And whatever date you selected here, it's not set in stone, it's dynamic. So if you move it around, for example, if I change this to May 28, then this moves automatically. So if you want to keep your current week at the top, you can just play around and move this date however you prefer. So that's pretty much the basic functionality. And just to remind you, there's 31 rows in here. So every 31 posts, you need to create new copies from these two tabs and then connect them to each other. So if you have any more questions about this, please feel free to contact me and I will be happy to answer them. And so now I'm very quickly gonna go over a few extra features that I added. So as you may recall, there's this progress bar over here for each of your checklists. You can change the color of that. To change the color, you just change the hex value over here. And if you don't know how to get that, you can do it in here. So just select any random blank cell down here. You click on this paint bucket, then you click on this plus sign over here, and then you can create your color. And whenever you're happy with your color, you just go ahead, copy this value, the hex value. You click on cancel so this doesn't get painted, and then you paste it over here. So this is an example of how your progress bars will look, and then that changed over here. So that's just a little extra in case you didn't love this green color. Now in here, you can control how your idea text will be shown in the calendar. So you have this idea over here. Let's look at this last one. This is my third idea. If I were to make this number smaller, let's say 5 characters, I'm only going to see 5 characters of my idea text and then these 3 dots. So this controls only the idea text. How many of these characters are going to get shown in my calendar? If you want to see the whole thing, you just add a very big number and then it won't get cut off. So that's a little extra. Another extra is right now, all of this 4 columns are being shown in here. The idea text, that's always going to show, but you can control if you want the other 3 columns to show or not. So you do that with these checkboxes over here. So if I uncheck them, then I'm only going to see the time, the post number, and then the idea text, and I'm not seeing this information. So completely optional. They are checked by default. And then the hashtag manager, this gets created automatically. So whenever you add a value into one of your groups, as soon as you add the first element, then it's going to get added into this index. So first element, and it gets added immediately. It doesn't wait for the title. So if you add a title, then you see that here. And then if you add a title but no elements, then you're not going to see it over here until you add an element. And if you're working on your computer on the browser version, then you can use these links to jump into the corresponding groups. And then if you scroll all the way to the right, you keep scrolling, at some point you're going to find this area. And this is completely optional. I added a few tables over here, and the way this works is, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So the way this works is, this is how an empty table looks like. You're only gonna do 2 things in this area. You're gonna select 2 groups. So you select one group, and then you select another group, and both groups will be joined together in these tables for you to copy and paste. And then finally, just a couple more features. So you see these spaces between ideas. You can remove those in case you need more space by unchecking this box. So if I uncheck it, then you don't get an extra space in between ideas. If I check it, then you get this extra space. Now you also have this table over here. So if you have any other important event that you want added into the calendar, that's not really a new idea, it's just an event. So maybe you're launching a new product. So any event that you want to also see in the calendar, you can add in this table over here. And then finally, you can highlight dates. So let's move this to June 1st, for example. So you can jump into this cell right here, double click and select a date, and it's gonna get highlighted in here, it's gonna get highlighted in the calendar, and it's gonna get highlighted in this table over here. So that's just a little extra, and to remove the highlight, you just click here and press delete on your keyboard. And remember, you have full control over the start date. You just change it and everything updates automatically. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and I will be happy to help you.